Hey everyone, it's Emma Vigeland with TYT and Rebel HQ. I just wanted to thank you so much for helping Rebel HQ get to 200,000 subscribers. In my last video thanking you, I said ask me anything and I'll do a video in response to the questions that you ask as kind of a treat or whatever it is, but just trying to thank you guys, give you something a little bit special so we can directly interact. And here are some of the questions that you asked. Paul Thompson asks, did you ever feel threatened at any of those Trump rallies? I would say yes. I got used to it after a while. There were people who were sometimes aggressive, people who really hated reporters, but I made a point to just be as straightforward and as respectful as possible, and for the most part people were respectful. I would say that the situations where I felt more in danger were when I was at Standing Rock and I was filming protesters face off against police officers who were heavily militarized, and I was on the front lines there. You know, that was a little scary. Or even I would say Inauguration Day, when those protests happened and it was kind of anarchy and people were setting things on fire and cops were throwing tear gas. You know, I tasted that tear gas in my mouth. That was pretty crazy. But yeah, sometimes I do feel threatened, but for the most part, I know how to conduct myself in those situations now. So going forward, I feel pretty good about it. Lance B asks, how do you keep a straight face when interviewing Trump supporters? When you're in a crowd of thousands of people who disagree with you and you're just, yeah, I'm not in a media pen like most of the press. I'm in the crowd, I'm in the lines. It's hard to get cell reception there. I'm pretty much on my own. You're not trying to deliberately antagonize people, but more than that and more than self-preservation, it has to do with the fact that when I keep a straight face and when I ask straightforward questions and when people don't feel like they're being embarrassed on camera, they give me the most honest answers and often the most damning ones that they wouldn't otherwise share. Robert Mitchell asks, Emma, is TYT a full-time job? Yes, it is definitely a full-time job. Quinn Bart asks, did you think AOC was going to be this huge when you first interviewed her? This big? No. I will say that I called my mom after spending the day with her and getting to spend that much time with her and said, Mom, I just interviewed this incredible candidate. She's this young, she's amazing. And my mom was like, oh, that's great. And then now my entire family just wants to talk about it with me over Christmas and Thanksgiving. So I thought she might win, but she's a political celebrity in a different stratosphere. I had no idea this would happen. Xandaru asks, on a personal level, how does it feel to be closely associated with AOC and her rise from unknown primary challenger to influential congresswoman? How have your friends and family reacted to both your position as a recognized journalist and your early association with AOC? I would not say I'm closely associated with her rise. I feel so blessed to have been given the opportunity and to be in, communication with Cenk, where we were both like, wow, this Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is really impressive. We should go cover her for an entire day. And then getting to spend the time with her as a human being and seeing that her public persona completely matches up with she as a person. She's warm, she's intelligent, she's just an incredibly charismatic individual. So that's been a great privilege and been really the highlight of my career so far, my young career. I hope to have many more highlights, but if this is just one of the marks that I make as a journalist, I will die a very happy lady. She's an incredible spokesperson for all of the issues that we so deeply care about here at the Young Turks. How have my friends and family reacted? I mentioned earlier that I called my mom after interviewing her. My mom just loves to tell everyone about how I know Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and my family does love to brag about me, and I take that with embarrassment and humility and love. Carl Lynn says, are you an immigrant? If not, how many generations has your family been in the USA? I am not an immigrant. My grandmother, Ortovuki, known as Vicky, was an immigrant. She came over when she was 19 from Finland. She was the hairdresser for Ginger on Gilligan's Island, and then she was also worked at Macy's and stuff. My mother grew up in poverty, and she was a wonderful person, my grandmother, and I was incredibly close with her. On my dad's side, my dad's dad was of Norwegian descent from Norway, and that's why my last name is Vigeland. So I am not an immigrant. My parents aren't immigrants, but they come from immigrants, and I'm obviously very Scandinavian. So I'm really proud of that heritage. I've not yet been to Norway, but I've been to Finland. I went there with my grandmother and my sister, mom, and cousin, and we met up with her siblings who she hadn't seen in decades, and it was an incredible experience. She'd almost kind of forgotten how to speak Finnish, and I'll never forget that, going to that country for the rest of my life. Ifiana Acuna asks, what is the most pressing issue that should be confronted in 2020? For me, it's Medicare for all. No questions, has to be done. Every Democratic candidate should support it, because the Republicans have zero plans on health care. And if the Democrats embrace Medicare for all, it's over. It's over. So that's why I think the Democratic candidate has to focus on health care. A majority of Republicans already agree with Medicare for all. Let it be done. Let it be over with. That's my number one issue. Tony Hoffling asks, who was an influence on you developing your worldview and direction in life? Both of my parents are super political. They're more establishment Democrats. I'm definitely to the left of them, but talking politics was a nightly thing at my dinner table. My dad is a brilliant man, and we would often disagree, and I would like to think that our disagreements and our constant battles push me in this direction. Yeah, I would say that he was a huge influence, as was my mom. My mom is my best friend in the entire world. But Cenk also was a huge influence on me. When Obama was running against Hillary Clinton, I became obsessed with the Democratic primary. I hated Bush, even though I was just a teenager and a freshman in high school. And the media was just talking about Hillary Clinton and not really talking about Obama, and I was like, what is this? So I started looking on YouTube, and I found all these grainy videos of Cenk talking about how Obama was the superior candidate, and I just became obsessed with TYT from then on out. I would say Glenn Greenwald has heavily influenced my worldview. When the whole NSA story came out, that really changed a lot of things, and the Obama candidacy itself, because I know that he disappointed me as a leader, but the ideas that he discussed and his candidacy and the feelings that I felt as a teenager it really changed my life. And so I'll be forever grateful for the Obama campaign for lighting that fire within me. Talik Taylor asks, my question is, when do you determine that you were a progressive TYT member? Thank you so much for being a TYT member. I kind of answered it a little bit in the last question. I really became a hardcore progressive leftist when Obama ran, and then after that I was the head of Young Democrats in my high school. And since then, I just have gotten even further left. I used to try to appease my conservative friends by saying I was socially liberal and fiscally conservative, just to kind of fit in. And then when I stopped caring about that, I became a hardcore leftist. Maddie Keller asks, do you believe in monogamy? As a societal construct, perhaps not. I think the jury's in with divorce rates and cheating rates, that it's not super realistic to expect everyone to be monogamous. But for me, on a personal level, yes, I do believe in monogamy. Joseph Mangano asks, as someone who follows the news and finds it very exhausting sometimes, I was wondering, how do you cope with the emotions and the fatigue that a 24-hour news cycle might promote, being a media consumer yourself as well as a content producer? So I don't listen to any political podcasts. I exercise 3 to 4 times a week. I try, maybe less in the winter because I'm so tired and hate going outside. And yeah, I do that. I hang out with a lot of friends. A lot of people are surprised when I tell them that most of my friends don't really care that much about politics. And I have a lot of conservative friends. So that's hard. Yeah, we have disagreements, but for the most part, it's kind of a release for me because I just don't have to talk about politics with them. And I choose to disengage from that part of my life once I come home and once I see my loved ones. If I wasn't doing this for my career, I would probably need new friends and probably would need an outlet about that somewhere, but this is my outlet and I'm so grateful for that. JK asks, who do you want the Giants to draft or trade for this next season, quarterback-wise? Well, I'm glad you asked because in another life, seriously, I would be an NFL analyst. I really think that I have an eye for things. The Giants, I don't understand their organizational direction. They're kind of trapped in nostalgia of Eli Manning eras from the 2007 Super Bowl and the 2011 one. They were played in 2008 and 2012. But yeah, Eli Manning has not been good for the past 2 to 3 years, and it's been exacerbated by the fact that the quarterback's play style has changed. Mobility, going outside of the pocket, rollouts is super important, and he is not only old and just checking it down, but he's also of an old style of play that is just not conducive to the NFL anymore. So Eli Manning, I genuinely think, should have not played or should have retired 2 years ago, and the Giants seem to have willfully neglected the quarterback position by not putting any viable backups behind him, although they tried to convince us it was Davis Webb, and obviously that didn't work out. I love Dwayne Haskins. I love him. And the more film I've watched on him, the more I love. He is exactly what the Giants want. He is a pocket passer who goes through his progressions incredibly well. He has great touch. He can take hits. He kind of, playing style is a little like Ben Roethlisberger. Although we don't know yet if he has the arm of Ben Roethlisberger. And I will also say that he didn't play very much at Ohio State, and his receivers were super talented. So we have to keep that all in mind. But I love Dwayne Haskins. The Giants aren't going to draft Kyler Murray. I don't want to pretend like they will. This is a conservative organization, not politically, but in the way that they run things. They're not going to draft him, so let's not even waste our time. It's Dwayne Haskins or bust. And if they don't draft Dwayne Haskins, I will have a riot, because I was in the camp of people who wanted them to draft Josh Allen last year. He was my favorite quarterback. I feel I've been vindicated on that front. Although, look, I was skeptical about Baker Mayfield, and he's probably the best out of the class. So what do I know? But you got me going on that question. What's your perfect Sunday? Watching Red Zone, maybe having an IPA, and just breathing in the crisp fall air. Early bird or night owl? Night owl, and it's a problem. It's a problem. I need to wear my glasses more, which block out the blue light, and I just don't do it. Are you a part of the LGBT? What's your orientation? I am straight. I have been mistaken for being gay on occasion because I love sports so much and because I'm kind of a tomboy. When I was in 4th grade, I cut off all my hair and made it really short and would only wear a Shaquille O'Neal jersey everywhere, and my mom just really thought that I was definitely gay, but I'm not. Do you ever indulge in the consumption of Mary Jane? I do. I am a sativa person, and that's all I'll say about that. Cookies or pancakes? Pancakes, for sure. I'm not a very sweet person, and I don't love sweet things. I could go without dessert for the rest of my life and be totally fine, but without carbs, it would be a really big problem. I love pancakes. I love the mix of the salty butter on top and the sweet syrup. So, pancakes. And this one account, CMath YBR, asked me a bunch, so I'll answer a few and then I'll wrap this up. What are your favorite sports teams? I am a diehard Giants fan, as you probably could tell. Huge New York Rangers fan and a New York Knicks fan. So those are my big three. I care a lot about them, but I care about the Giants the most. They were the team that made me fall in love with sports, and I got to see them win the Super Bowl the second time around with Eli Manning in Indianapolis. So that was a transformative experience, and I cried out of joy. Who's your favorite athlete? Odell Beckham Jr. is my favorite athlete, but outside of New York teams, I'm a huge Aaron Rodgers fan. I think he's the greatest quarterback physically to ever play the game. He is the most amazing athlete to watch. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes, that's the answer that everyone's giving right now. I love Russell Westbrook. He's a great player in the NBA who I always root for. Giannis is a great player, but again, I follow the NFL more closely, so I'll just leave it at that. And lastly, what's your favorite movie? My favorite movie is The Sound of Music, probably. It's the best mix of nostalgia for me and great film. I also love Pulp Fiction, The Dark Knight, Mary Poppins. I think there's a musical theme here. I love La La Land too. There's a lot of movies that I really love. So The Departed, dear God. There's Carol from 2015 or 2016 was absolutely gorgeous. I love love stories and I love musicals, but I like the high-end ones, so I'm not a complete loser. Anyway, thank you guys so much. I'm sorry if this was a little long, but I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you so much for 200,000 subscribers. Let's keep growing.